Is disability broken? That's the question. Is disability broken in Canada? Well, we're going to be talking about that next on PWD Allies podcast. So stay tuned. Grab your coffee, grab your morning cereal. I don't know. I mean, so stay tuned, everyone. Well, I'm going to talk about this next. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host. I'm joined with Neil Matheson from Surrey, British Columbia. I'm in the capital region, BC, Victoria, British Columbia, not too far from the BC legislature. Not a stone throw or anything like that, but I'm not too far. Bus ride away, hop, skip, and a jump. Yeah, it's going to be an active season coming up. Fall session starts today. It's October the 6th already. Halloween's just around the corner. Fall session, I could see all the goblins running around everywhere going, ooh, what can we do here? But anyway, today's show is all going to be about disability. Is disability broken?
Well, it's not so much is disability broken, Brent. It's does disability equal broken?
Does
And
disability equal broken?
and and the reason why I came up with this topic is because on the podcast we had before Rob Shaw, and I hope more people watch that episode because
Hmm.
I love having him on. Like I
Was-
wanted to say during the episode, like I wanted to say like I'm a total fanboy. I wanted to say I'm a total fanboy of yours, Rob, because I mean, yeah, I just am, and and it was kind of bugs me that again the YouTube algorithm has kind of bit us in the ass, and it's not pumping that one out. So I kind
hmm.
of it's kind of disappointing, but so I hope more people will share that one because I was really happy that he came on and he
Oh,
was so
and
like game,
yeah,
to do, and he did the outro and everything. It was such a fun episode that,
yeah,
so yeah, I just hope more people will share that one out. But anyway,
yeah.
getting back to the one before we did the one with Eleanor Sturko and Selena Robinson, and it kind of got messy because this
Yeah.
that was one of the ones where we tried to cram like 5 episodes into one episode, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the
So,
one cool thing that happened on that episode is you did dive a little bit deeper into your adoption story. And that was kind of cool, but unfortunately it kind of got buried under all the other,
mm,
4 other episodes that we tried to cram in. So it kind of felt like a very disjointed episode.
mhm.
So I wanted to kind of give it another opportunity to do a redo or a mulligan and reboot it and just focus on your adoption story. But before, because I wanted to basically hand over the show to you. But before I do that, I did want to say that there are some parallels here because for like people that have followed the podcast a lot know that my first wife had a disability and she was also adopted. And so her and she didn't find her birth parents until I think it was about 25. She knew she was adopted, but she didn't actually find her birth parents until about 25. And then so um, when she found out about them, she was really eager to connect. So she reached out to the mother and actually met the mother, and she said, now that you've seen me. Now that you've seen me, do you regret? She just said point blank, my wife did. She said, now that you've seen me and you've seen what I've become, do you regret giving me up? And the mother said, absolutely not. Absolutely no. And then my wife said, well, surely you don't mean that. And she says, no, I do mean it. I wouldn't have had you. And then my wife said, well, what do you mean by that? She says, if I had known that you were going to be born with a disability, I would have aborted you. I wouldn't even had you. I would have had an abortion. And
Oh,
and and
oh,
again, my wife said, "Surely you don't mean that. Surely you don't mean that." And her and her mom said, "Yes, I do mean that. I would have aborted you." And and so it did not go well at all.
mm,
And but I have to contrast that to say that her birth father, and right now, like again, my wife is Jewish, and her father and mother, her birth father and mother were Jewish, and right now her father's living in Israel. He's been living in Israel for about 15 years now, I think.
mm,
But anyway, when uh, uh, actually when my wife and I first started dating, she said, uh, I'm gonna meet my birth father for the first time. So I actually got to meet her birth father at the same time she did for the first time. So
oh,
that
wow.
was really cool. So we were
Yeah.
both meeting him for the first time, and he was
Yeah.
completely different. Like he actually did express regret that because he said honestly, like I never wanted to give you up. He said all of the pressure to give you up came from your mother, and I was very against it, but he said basically the mother of your mother came down really hard and said you got to get rid of this baby, and he said that ended up being one of the big reasons why they ended up divorcing a little bit later, the mother and father, because he just the stress of having to give her up, like it wasn't his decision,
Mm.
and
Oh, yeah.
he did regret it, and he actually tried to stay in her life, after they connected, and so that was really positive. But it it shows you the difference, right? The mother was like, I don't want anything to do with you. And the other thing I was going to say too is like, one of the things that my wife and I would share is like when she would, like when in your late teens and early 20s, you go to nightclubs and you want to go dancing and see if you can pick up a guy or a girl, right? And so she would relay this story, and she was in a nightclub one time, and of course she's in again she's in a motorized wheelchair, and this guy comes up to her, and he says again to my wife, my first wife. He says, you're really beautiful. He says, it's too bad you're in a wheelchair. Just like really bluntly said,
Wow.
you're really beautiful. It's too bad you're in a wheelchair. I would date you. He actually went on. He said, I would date you if you weren't in a wheelchair. Like isn't that
Oh,
so
yeah.
blunt,
Oh,
and I mean,
oh.
I kind of had that too, but I didn't have anybody really bluntly say that, but I kind of always knew that, like, because I was always wanting to date able-bodied women too, because at least at the start, because I always thought like my disability is hard anyway, so like if I already know it's hard, like I just thought being with somebody else that's disabled, that's going to be even harder. So of
Mhm,
course I'm going to want to try to date able-bodied.
mhm.
And but there was always that risk of thinking, well, you know, if you're are they going to accept my broken body, because my body is broken. I mean, my legs are bent, that's just a physical biological fact that I was born with bent legs, and
Mm.
there's nothing that I can do. Like
No.
you always talk about the medical model versus the social model, right?
Mhm,
Well, the medical model confirms my biology of my bent legs, and there's nothing I can do about to fix that.
mhm.
And you have the social model says, well, all you need, Neil, is you just need an elevator, or you just need an accessible shower, and your problems go away. Well, they don't go away. My legs are still bent,
Yeah.
right? So the reality is, I do have a broken body, and but I wanted to get to the point that I'm okay with that. I'm okay with my broken body, right? And the last thing I will say is I'll relay another story of one of the churches that my wife and I went to. Um, we went to a kind of they had a summer camp thing at the church. It was for like a week, and they had they had like seminars, and you'd go and do like little courses during the day. And so I went to attend like a Bible study kind of thing. You go and attend a group and you talk about the Bible and stuff. And so I went to this group with the church, and this guy came up to me, and it was a really big church. So I didn't know everybody at the church. It was like there was 1,000 people at the church. It was like a really big church.
Yeah.
But anyway, this guy came up to me and he says, "I want to pray for you." And he says, I want to pray for healing for you,
Hmm.
like physical healing." And I kind of said, "What?" And he says, "Yeah, just," he says, "stand up." And he says, and so I stand up and I got crutches on, of course. And he says, "Now throw down your crutches, throw down your crutches." And I'm like, "What? What?" He said, and he's like, "Throw down your crutches and just start walking." And I thought, well, that's what are you doing? That's weird. Like he says,
Yeah.
I thought that was really inappropriate. And anyway, the youth pastor saw this interaction, and he said that was totally inappropriate. He says, I wanted to let you know that I talked to the guy afterwards, and it was totally inappropriate to do that.
Hmm.
You know, but there is that sometimes with religion, there is that kind of assumption again that if you have a physical fault, that it's it's a flaw. It means you're broken and it requires fixing. You know, you need to be fixed, you know,
Wow.
but the thing about God is like the only thing that needs to be fixed in a person is your soul. You know,
Hmm.
it's your heart, it's your inside, it's your soul. It's not to the fact that I have a disabled body, that was God's choice to put me in that body.
Hmm.
And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it, right?
Hmm.
And yes, if God wanted to, he could heal me on the spot, but I know that God's got his own timing. He's going to decide to heal me when he wants to heal me, right?
Hmm.
And I don't want to just assume that I can throw on my crutches and start walking and
Yeah.
have this spontaneous healing. I think that's really damaging
Hmm.
to expect that, and it's also really damaging to not like the body that you're given, because if you don't like the body you're given,
Yeah.
you're basically saying that God doesn't know what he's doing. You know that God himself made a mistake. You
Hmm.
know, I don't want to say I never want to come be in that position where I can say God made a mistake. You know, I just I don't want to do that. Like I want to be happy with the body I was given. I want to be happy even with my bent legs. I want to be happy with that. Anyway, so
Yeah.
that's my what did I spend? I spent like 10 minutes. But anyways, that's my 10 minutes of explaining my side of the story. And again, there's some parallels there with my wife's experience of having her mom totally not. And again, I want to do one more thing and say, you know, when my wife was born, she was born with arthrogryposis, it's called. And so when she was born, she actually had her legs were actually over her head. She came out, so I guess she had a cesarean section because she came out with her legs were when you have arthrogryposis, it's because you have not enough fluid, amniotic fluid in the womb
Oh.
when the
Okay.
baby's developing. So she was born with her joints fused and her legs were fused over her head. So she came out with her legs fused over her head. So you can kind of understand why the mother would be freaked out. I mean, I get it, right? So anyway, so when my wife was born, she actually had to have an operation to break her legs
Hmm.
and reset them. They have to break her legs and then move them down and reset them under her body. You know, so again, you can understand why the mother would be freaked out, but unfortunately, the mother thought that again, this disability, this disabled daughter that she had, was a punishment from God.
Oh.
That God was somehow punishing her for a sin or something. And again, like I don't want to ever accuse God of making a mistake or of God punishing or something. Like that's not a healthy thing.
Hmm.
Like I think we gotta give God credit for like he knows what he's doing. God doesn't make mistakes. and we all have to be just happy with our bodies.
Mhm.
And anyway, that's my 2 cents, and you can kind of take off and run with it, Brent.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Well, first of all, before I get started, everybody, I advertise our mug for our show. So this is the PWD Allies mug that was gifted to us from Trisha. So as you can see on the one side of the logo here of the mug, you've got the PWD Allies logo, and on the other side, got the other logo.
Those are really cool.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
got the wheelchair with the Canadian flag in there.
yeah,
Maybe in the future, we're gonna maybe branch out with a little bit more of these. These are
yeah.
a limited time offer. I mean, to us, or limited edition, not limited time offer, but limited edition. These are awesome mugs. They keep your beverage nice and hot in here, actually.
I'm gonna have to reach out to Trisha again and
Yeah,
see if we can maybe do a small run for maybe Christmas time or something. We'll we'll
yeah,
we'll, we'll talk about it more, but
yeah,
you
exactly.
know,
Yeah, and so my story, it starts out from when my biological mother met my biological father. It all started where they were out at a party, and I then became to be. Um, yeah.
the
I,
birds and the bees, as they say.
yeah, and so that's what I heard is that yeah, they were at a party and they got to know each other, and well then yeah, I became to be, and when but before I was born, my adopted mother was in hospital. Um, so this is a very interesting story. So that's why I'm starting at the very beginning. So
Hmm.
my adopted mother, well, I found out, when I was just a young teenager, almost a teenager, I found out I was adopted. But so my adopted mother was actually she was in hospital. She was having an hysterectomy at the time.
Hmm.
My She couldn't have children, so she was in hospital at the time. But she really wanted to have children later in life. So my brother, which I didn't know at the time, my brother was just born a year and a half. Actually, he's a year and a half older than I am. But his his biological mother was in hospital at the same time as my adopted mom was there. I'm sorry, wait, I mean, if I got that right. So anyway, so she was in the hospital with my I guess my aunt really. So they were in there and talking and said, well, I love to have children later on, and she says, oh well, I just I just had my child, and okay, she was in hospital for some other things, I guess, and started talking to my mom and said, well, my sister's going to be having a baby. Oh yeah, and yeah, so. Yeah, well, because my mom had to go back for some observations, and that's why. And then said, "Well, my sister's pregnant." Oh, yeah, and she goes, yeah, because and she goes, I think I've talked to you before, and she goes, yeah, because they were in hospital before, and it was ironic that they were both in there at the same time, and so they got talking and said, well, would you like to? I'm going to give it up as a private adoption, and my mom said I would love to, and so then I came along. So basically the two sisters basically gave up their children, their siblings for adoption. I mean, me and my brother.
Hmm.
So technically, my brother is my cousin.
Oh wow.
Technically,
Yeah, yeah.
but legally, he's my brother. But biologically, um, he's actually my cousin.
Hmm.
Um, so that's kind of where that started. As so after I was born, all apparently, I of course as an infant, I mean, I don't remember a lot of little things. Only when I was like a little child, little flashbacks of little things I remember. But learning from what my mom told me and what my aunt told me and my grandma, I was so grateful that I got to meet my grandma. Very dear lady. I used to go for there lots, and then I'd see my aunts. Well, of course, I didn't realize that. I said, oh, my aunties are all here. Well, one of them was my biological mother. I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
I thought that was she my aunts. Well, my grandma would come by, my grandma and grandpa would come by and pick me and my brother up, and actually, and my mom, yeah, it would just say. So my mom actually was there, actually at the same time as my biological mother and my true aunt, and some my aunts and stuff, and we would go and
That's a
spend.
very interesting dynamic already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So, I mean, I actually got to meet them, but not knowing that she was my biological mother.
Yeah.
So she really kept a very close eye on me, because she wanted to be part of my life. But she knew that she couldn't be part of my life because she had given me up for adoption, but she wanted that connection. And I thought that was so special that she wanted that, and learning that later on in life. And I started asking a few questions. I'm like, oh, um, I said, my auntie's coming by again. Oh, wow, she was just here last week, wasn't she? She goes, oh yeah, but she loves to come to see you. You're one of her favorites. Oh, okay. Is Grandpa coming by? No, Grandpa can't come by. My mom said, but Grandma's going to be here. Oh, yay! I guess my grandpa was busy at the time, I guess, whatever, but they would come by and take me for ice cream or take me for lunch. And I
Mhm.
thought this was so cool. Like, um, time went by, and, I would be stumbling and they would be watching, oh, Brent, be careful. And I would I'd be outside and I'd walk into something and I didn't even think
Mhm.
anything of it, right? But I would just keep falling down and hurting myself here and there. And I was in my bedroom and I went to go and open the door one day, and I still remember that. And wham,
Mhm.
right into the wall. I thought it was two doors there, and I put my hand and I whacked my hand against the wall, and why won't the door open? And I was starting to freak out and getting very upset and crying. And
Mhm.
my mom heard me. She was watching TV, and she'd come out and she says, "Well," and my dad was there, still living with my mom in the house at the time, and my dad had opened the door. He says, "What are you crying about now?" And my mom says, "Well, I mean, don't talk to Brent that way. Like, I mean, obviously there's something going on. I'm not sure."
Mhm.
And I guess my adopted dad, he didn't understand. He loved me very much, but I think he didn't really understand everything that was going on,
Mhm.
with what I was going through. He understood my disabilities, um, because I guess obviously he knew more than I knew. I mean, I was just a child, but I was scared. And so my mom says, "Well, what happened?" I said, "Well, I went to open the door and I hit the wall." She said, "You hit
Mhm.
the wall more than once, Brent," and she knew there was a serious problem. Like, this was ongoing for a long time.
Yeah.
So
It
finally,
does take a special kind of parent to be not scared by that kind of thing, right? I
yeah,
mean, I can look at my own parents too, and because I mean, cerebral palsy is a pretty significant thing too, and there's a lot of lesser parents that would be freaked out by that too.
hmm
And yeah, I just wanted to interrupt a little bit because we
yeah,
got a really good comment from Canada the Great. I just wanted to call out Canada the Great. We have Inga in chat. It's cool. Good morning, Inga. And then we have this comment from Canada the Great. And the comment is disability is a challenge that leads one to have a greater advantage, especially with problem solving. You'd be amazed at what you can do if you just give us a chance and a freaking hand up to do so. I thought that's a pretty good
yeah.
comment, and and it reminds me of how we always talk about definitions, like how you define
Disability.
disability, right? And there's a lot of negative connotations to
Oh yeah,
disability, like
yeah,
if you're disabled, you're broken, like
hmm
that, like this show we're talking about. Disability, does disability equal broken, or does disability equal wrecked, or unable, or incapacitated, all those kind of negative terms, right? There was one really cool definition that I came across where it said it said that the disability, the definition of disability is lacking in one or more powers, in one or more physical powers to uh, to do something. I'm getting a little bit wrong, but it was talking about basically about having the physical power to do something, right? Or lacking the physical power. So it's just said lacking in one or more physical powers to do something.
Hmm.
But but by saying it that way, it was basically saying that you still have powers to do other things, right? It was
Yeah,
just saying you might be lacking in one or two of these things, but you still have physical power and physical ability to do other things.
exactly.
So I kind of like that definition. And
Hmm.
again, I kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but
Yeah.
I like to use the word physical power, that lacking in physical power to do a couple things, but it doesn't mean that you can't do other things, right?
Hmm. Yeah. And so when I my mom came in and figured out what was going on. She knew that there was this is an ongoing thing, and she even said to me at the time, uh, I think that there's some severe things that are happening. And she says, I've been seeing this developing over time. I said, oh, I just lost my balance, Mom. I said, and I thought, okay, this must be, something normal. I mean, I was just like a very, I was like 4 years old, five, and it continued. My mom sent me in for observations with eye specialist. Then I got bounced down to other eye specialist, and they couldn't seem to get to the bottom of it. And it's just Brent's balance. It's off. I mean, it's to do with his vision. Because I was born, all I could see was shadows at the time, and it has progressed where I guess my eye condition stabilized to a point where it left me with double vision. And the specialists were still quite surprised what was going on here, but they couldn't get to the bottom of it. My mom finally got a hold of a top specialist in Canada and was actually all the way from Toronto and came all the way out to Vancouver and his colleagues. And so they had a whole group of them came out and they wanted to study. They wanted to study my eye condition, and that was part of their, I guess, part of their study groups from the University of Waterloo is where they came from, and they wanted to use me as a study session in real time.
Mhm.
And so I had to go through a lot of diagnostic testing with them. All expenses paid for my mom because, well, my mom had to do a lot for me back then. At the same time, I didn't realize that my mom was telling my father that it's now time to find the exit door. You now need to leave because my father was getting upset because of my disabilities. I think that it was getting a lot that he couldn't handle it, and he
Mhm.
started taking it out on my mom. My
Mhm.
father had a real bad drinking problem, just to let everybody know a little bit of my story behind it all. And I don't hold it on him that I knew he loved me and my brother and my mom a lot, very, very much. But my mom could not handle it where she didn't want my brother and me to be brought up around what my father was going through. And so she had to make the ultimate sacrifice and tell him that he needed to now leave and pack his bags. He didn't want to leave, but unfortunately, she had to kind of get the reinforcements to make that happen.
Mhm.
Um, and it was the best thing she ever did. I have flashbacks. I'm okay. Like I just let everybody know I'm okay. Like I think back and I do remember these things, and I think as a child you always will remember certain things that happen. And I'm not shy about sharing my story when it comes to what I remember. And it may and if this traumatizes anyone, I actually will say like this part that I'm going to say, I'm sorry. I don't want to trigger anybody. I'm sorry. Like I mean, I'm just sorry because I mean I don't want anyone to feel very awful of what I'm going to say, and
Mhm.
I don't mean to trigger anybody. If it does trigger, I apologize. Uh, my father used to throw plates at my mom, and I witnessed
Mhm.
it. Um, he would say, "Here's a frisbee, catch," and he'd literally grab plates off dinner plates that are on the table and throw them, and he'd throw forks and knives and spoons at her. He grabbed a pot that was sitting on the stove, and that's when I screamed. I saw only the little bit of it, and I turned my back and I went running into my bedroom. But then I realized, uh-oh, my dad, he turned his head and he saw that I saw what he did. And I thought, oh no, like I can't escape. I'm in my bedroom. What if he comes in here?
Mhm.
I was about to try to climb out my window, my bedroom window,
Mhm.
and I looked down. Oh, it's too far to the ground, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look, and he opened up my bedroom door and he came and gave me the strap. He says, if you ever say anything, you'll know where the strap comes again. What he did was he has a pot that was on the stove and it had hot boiling water because my mom was
Yeah.
actually boiling spaghetti. And I mean, I was already traumatized when I saw the plates, but when I saw the boiling water, he came in and I guess my mom had made me some soup, and my mom had told me, well, go to your room, have your dinner in your room.
Mhm.
Well, it was the kind of soup I don't know. I guess my mom didn't have a lot of money. She stretched things as best as she could, and I guess as a kid, I was picking away at my soup anyway. I mean, I don't like this and I don't like that, and I was
Mhm.
like, eating certain things, and my dad got frustrated because he saw what I saw him, and he grabbed my soup, and it was still hot, but there was some
Yeah.
noodles that my mom was making more hot water, putting more noodles in to, I
Mhm.
guess, for like soup. It was like chicken noodle soup. But these are like big giant pieces of chicken that were in. It was like, oh, it was like kind of fatty, this and that. I still remember
Mhm.
that. My
Yeah.
dad came by and he got my chicken noodle soup and dumped it over my head.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So that was when after that my mom had said, okay, like you are now out of the house. Like she
Yeah.
kicked him out of the house. So I always remember those things and I'm okay. Like I'm okay now, like going forward. When I was a child, I remember it. It really traumatized me.
Mhm.
But I became to realize that it was the mental part that my dad was going through. He was having a mental breakdown. The alcohol would really affected him. He'd be like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like he would be the perfect dad going forward, and
Mhm.
that he give him a couple good drinks, some whiskey or a whole bunch of beer, and he just completely turned opposite and like violent, mean,
Yeah.
violent. And What happened is that my mom had talked to my aunts on the phone, and of course my mother. This is where it gets interesting. My mother had heard about this. Um, because she had, I mean, obviously, like I said at the beginning of the story, she had given me up for adoption. She just wasn't ready. She just wasn't ready for me to be in her life at the time. I mean, they went to a party. I was born, right? Bada bing, right?
But
Uh,
again, there's no mistakes, right? There's
there
no
was no mistake.
mistakes.
There was no
Yeah.
mistakes on either part.
Yeah.
My mother, my biological mother, made that decision at the beginning. My
Mhm.
my dad made that decision that he chose that he wanted to, have the drink, and
Mhm.
he had to make the ultimate decision of accepting the fact of that he was wrong and had to, he was forced to go to AAA. Oh, you'll be a better person going
Mhm.
forward. No, my dad, he just kept on falling back into that trend. My mom tried to have him back temporarily. Yeah, it didn't work. I even said, like, my mom asked me, like, how do you feel? I don't want to witness. I told her what I had witnessed, and I don't want to witness that again. So she went to counseling. She had the social service people came. They got involved. My mom wasn't on social services. Anybody like she wasn't on AKA welfare or anything to
Mhm.
do with government source funding. She was a single mother bringing up two young boys without my father. But my aunt and my aunt, my grandma, and my aunt were all involved in my life still. But my mom was in communication with them. And of course, I didn't realize one day I was, so that was fine going forward. I stayed in contact with my dad. He would come by to visit. Like he couldn't live there, he'd come by to visit.
Mhm.
Hi, Brenty. He goes, that a boy, he says, and he would take me out for lunch and I was fine. Like I was okay. Like when he was in a good state, I was okay.
Mhm.
But it was being supervised, right? And that's fine. Um, then he kind of disappeared. Like he moved back to his hometown. He lived in Winnipeg. So like he moved back to Winnipeg. And so before I even get to that part, because that's further down the line. So I would make phone calls, phone him. Um, I remember one day I had gone to school. My school bus picked me up in my front door, and one of the teachers, my elementary teacher, came to me and said, "Brent, the principal and I would like to talk to you. There's something going on at your home. Um, that there's been arrangement where you will be picked up by a family member after school. The school bus won't be picking you up today, and going forward for, um, I guess the inevitable near future. It could be 3, 4 months. I don't know. What? I still remember what? Yeah. So everything's fine. Your mom's fine. It says your mom is fine. Everything's fine. I mean, she will be fine in the long run, but she's going through some transition situations at home.
Hmm.
Oh, so you won't be going home. Um, your friend of your mom has a lot of your belongings, your toys. I had toys and and stuff. I had to go and stay at my I always called her my aunt, but she really wasn't my true aunt. It was just a
Hmm.
friend of my mom's, and but I called her another aunt because I still had my aunts too, right?
Hmm.
And I got to stay at her place, and she would have breakfast, lunch, dinner, make me all my stuff for school, and do all my laundry, and I helped her with my laundry too.
Hmm.
Yeah, she taught me a lot about laundry, about being responsible, about folding laundry, and when I was just a kid, taking that responsibility. And I said, well, my mom used to do this all the time. Well, how come my mom can't? Because your mom's going through a battle right now to do with child custody. What? And my aunt explained, my mom's friend explained that to me because she
Hmm.
got permission but from my mom to mention that to me because I was asking questions. She says, Brent, you're very inquisitive. You keep asking a lot of questions. I'm not familiar with this surrounding. That's why you'll understand as you get older, and I will explain, or your mom will explain to you what it was. Is that my biological mother was trying, as I said a few minutes ago, my adopted father was told to find the exit door, and he was escorted out. I still remember that. Yeah, the RCMP escorted him out, and I saw that. But I was thankful that I didn't have to go through that growing up. Yeah, I don't know what would have happened. Probably wouldn't have been a good situation. But fast forward through that point of time was um, I found out that my biological mother, was trying to get custody of me. She was taking my mom to court because she wanted to get custody of me again back into her life. So she was putting my biological my adopted mother through court proceedings because I was in a vulnerable state. The family was in a vulnerable state, apparently. That a single mother bringing up two children, and figured that maybe that there could be a little bit of vulnerability there. That maybe I wasn't getting enough nutritional food. Maybe stuff wasn't getting done. My mom
Hmm.
was amazing. She did everything. She was like the mom super dad. You know what I mean? Like she took on my dad's role of being the dad
Yeah.
and the mother at the same time,
Yeah.
and I totally respected her for that.
And that's what you got to do. That's what you got
Yeah,
to do as
and,
as a single
yeah,
parent. Like, I mean, I had Jake as a single parent
yeah,
for 5 years after my first wife passed away, and
exactly.
you absolutely do. You have to take on the two roles. Like, I did feel for the longest time that I was taking on the dad role and I was taking on the mom role
Yeah, and
in
and
the
so
absence of my first wife being passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when I had heard about this, I was really upset. Like I was like, why? Like this, I don't understand. Like she's wanted to try to get custody of me, and they're like, what did I do wrong? And I said, what did I do wrong? They're like, no, 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 you didn't do anything wrong. And then I talked to my mom. I was able to then go back to back home. I was so excited. My friends in my neighborhood were all happy. Brent, where have you been? And I said, well, I had to stay at a friend's place, at my mom's friend. Oh, everything okay? And I said, I think so. My mom says everything's going to be okay. But when I came in, when my mom's friend dropped us off and we had lunch, and actually it was my mom's friend actually took us out for lunch, But when we came back, there was a lady parked in our driveway. And my mom's friend says, "Oh, are you expecting company?" And my mom says, "No, I don't think so." There was a lady parked in our driveway. And she says, "Oh," taps her horn, honk, honk. I still remember that. We got out. And my mom, she says, "Oh, hi. You're Brent's mom?" "Yeah." Hi. She says, "Hi. Yeah, I'm from the social services ministry with the government. We're just doing a wellness, like a check, just to check, And anyway, they were basically checking on my mom, and they started asking talk to my mom, and they started asking me questions.
Yeah.
They asked me, "Are you getting? So how is school?" Right? I still remember that too. "How is school?" I go, "Great. I'm learning lots. Are you learning lots?" "Yep." I said, "But I can't see." I said, "I have to sit really close to the front of the class because I can't see the chalkboard, all the numbers properly, and the wording, all the words are too tiny."
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, okay, good. Okay, well, that's good. I mean, as long as they're trying to accommodate you. I understand that you've had some health issues with your vision." I said, "Yeah, yeah, but that's me." Okay, and but you got your lunch. Your mom gives you lunch and stuff. And I go, "Yep, oh yeah." I said, "Yeah, I get my drink box and my sandwich. I get a little snack and a piece of fruit. Yeah, I'm good." "Okay, and it's all nutritional. What kind of sandwiches?" Like, start asking what kind of food. You know what I said? My response was, everybody. I go, "Nutritional food." "Okay, but what is nutritional to you?" I go, "Healthy," because that's what they teach us in the school, healthy. "Okay, but when healthy, some people may interpret healthy in a different way. What kind of food?" So, and why? I said, "What? Who are you? Why are you asking me all these questions?" Uh, well, I'm actually just from the government, and I just want to make sure that you're getting the healthy food." "Oh, does my mom know that you're from the government?" "Yes, she does." I go, "Then why are you not talking to my mom? Why are you asking me?" "Because I want to make sure that you are actually getting your proper meals." Like, my mom knows me better than you because you're a stranger. My mom always told me, "Don't talk to strangers if you don't feel comfortable." "Do you feel comfortable?" I go, "No, I don't feel comfortable because you're asking me too many questions."
Mm.
And my mom was talking to her friend in the kitchen at the time because I was talking to her in the living room. And my mom overheard that. My mom's friend goes, "Okay, that's enough." And she goes, "Oh, I'll tell you." She says, "I'll tell you, Mrs. Frain, when enough is enough, because we're not done talking to him yet." And I said, and then I spoke up and I said, "Yeah, I've actually had enough. It's like you feel like you're being like my dad. You're being
It's very
nasty."
invasive, isn't
I
it? It's
said, "You're
very
being like my
invasive.
dad, and my dad got kicked out from my mom, and so maybe my mom, can you kick this lady out?"
Hmm.
I said that, and she, "Oh my God." So of course the lady says, "Is this how you're bringing up your child?" "Oh, well, we may have to keep an eye on that." And so I actually spoke up and I said, like, "Look, at my household, everything's great." And they came by one more time, and that was it.
Hmm.
Again, I think that's why that of course, I found out it was my biological mother, felt that it was the household was vulnerable, but it wasn't vulnerable. um, a decision that my biological mother had made when I was born. She wasn't ready to have me, but she was ready to have me after I had an operation. Because right
Hmm.
after that, after I kept walking the walls, getting back to the specialist, my mom had got a phone call from top specialist, said, "Okay, they actually have a top specialist in Canada that wants to do an observation and possibly an operation on Brent."
Hmm.
And I was scared. I heard that. And I went into Vancouver. I still remember the building. Yeah, it was right on Broadway there, Neil. It was that big, giant, tall one, that big, giant, tall building that's
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, I went there and I loved the building. You know why? Because I used to play with the elevator. Yay! Press all the going up, eh?
Are you like Elf where you lit
Yeah,
up the whole
yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah, I did. I went, and all these people there, there's like ding, 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 each floor. I did that actually at my dad when I went to go and visit him in Winnipeg before too, because his mother was living out there. So yeah, and I did the same thing with the elevator. Yeah, but anyway, so I went and saw the top specialist, and he actually got me to follow his finger on a piece of paper, and I was following like it was supposed to be straight across. I was going like
Yeah.
this, and he says, "Okay, so how your eyes are moving now, I want you to follow." And I was kind of going like it was my finger, and I guess they recorded it, and it was how my finger was going like this,
Hmm.
like up and down, not like side to side, like how
Yeah.
you get, like, say, as some people would have stigmatism. I'm going to kind of describe that. Mine is not stigmatism. Like, I do have the stigmatism, but it's because of my eye condition. It's actually more to it than stigmatism. My
Hmm.
eyes were going, apparently, it was going like this, up and
Hmm.
down and side to side. And so
Yeah.
they were going, whoa, okay. So they had to observe it and then send me in for an operation. All I remember, I don't remember the operation, obviously. I remember waking when I woke up. I woke up at home. Well, when I left, I wasn't at home. I was in
Hmm.
hospital.
Hmm.
When I woke up, I was actually at home. My mom had me laying on the couch, not in my bed, but had me laying on the couch. I
Hmm.
woke up and there was like a little bucket beside me, just in case, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the first thing was, bleh.
Yeah.
I was sick right away.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess it was a reaction somehow to the operation or whatever.
Yeah.
But I woke up and I looked and I looked around. Nobody was there. I guess my mom was actually doing laundry. She must have been outside. My brother was obviously in school. Nobody was there. And my mom's dog was close by here, walked up, looked, and I pet the dog. And I was like, oh, I see the dog. I'm thinking, I don't see double vision. Like, I'm looking around. Oh, and I was like I was shocked because I didn't know. I mean, what I knew was double vision,
Hmm.
right? Every so often, and I mean, I remember that apparently all I saw was shadows when I was born, but I guess as I was growing up as a little child, I mean, I wasn't having like shadows. Like, I mean, I could actually see, but a lot of it time was double vision, or I wasn't able to focus and concentrate looking forward properly. Like it was just, and people would look at me thinking, okay, he's cross-eyed or his eyes are bouncing up and down.
Hmm.
No, and one of our kids in the school used to give me a hard time on that, and he said, your eyes are screwed up. You may want to, you may want to get your parents to get you checked. I always remember the one child, he got scolded by the teacher so bad.
Hmm.
But yeah, and he was removed apparently. But anyway, my mom came in. She goes, "Oh, you're awake." I'm like, "What? What? Where?" I said, "Huh? I'm at where? I'm at home." She goes, "Yeah." I go, "Well," and then I realized, "Yeah, I'm at home." I said, "Because the dog was there." I said, "How did I get home?" You don't remember anything, do you? I said, "No." Yeah, you were quite sick, Brent. You were quite sick in the hospital. You were in hospital for a good while, actually. Oh, okay. And so I guess that part of it was that they must have kept me in a different mode, whatever it was. And but for basically Children's Hospital in Vancouver is basically where I was. They had
Yeah.
me in a ward.
That's a good hospital, by the
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember them coming by, little clowns. They had little clown outfits and
Hmm.
stuff, and
Hmm.
they'd
Hmm.
come by, and I do remember that, and the little bits back. But yeah, apparently she said you were quite sick for a while, and but they said you're going to be fully recovered from, like, not your eye condition, but you fully will recover from not being able to see double vision. That was the one success that came out of the operation, was that um, my eye condition is it's from birth. It was passed on down the line through genes. They don't know where it got passed down. It skips a generation, and it skips through. So is um, basically it's like it'll be passed down through their boy or a girl. They don't know. It'll get
Yeah.
passed down through genes. So you can luck out and you say, hey, it's a boy's going to get, no, a girl's going to get passed down. They don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
Same with my cerebral palsy. It could have been passed on to my sister instead of
yeah,
me. So
yeah, exactly.
just
And
luck
that's
of the draw.
Yeah, that's what they said, and that was
Yeah.
part of the study on it. And it was a chance that my mom was willing to take for me. And they asked my aunt, said, yeah, like, yeah, I mean, whatever makes it better for Brent for operation. And my mom had to make that ultimate decision of saying, yeah, like this, do it. And they said it's a 50-50 chance. It's either going to leave him the same with, you know, double vision and his eyes bouncing around everywhere, or it could, or also it could maybe not make it a lot worse, but it could maybe cause a few other issues to kind of go along with it. Like, so it'll be the same as it was, or it may maybe degrade a little tiny bit, but would stabilize at that degrade, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense to everybody. So my mom says, well, whatever, to try to make his life as comfortable as possible. So they said, okay. And so I say kudos up to the people who did that operation, the top specialists in Canada came out. It cost my mom some good money, apparently. She had to take out a loan to make it happen. Um, some of
There's
it,
a lot of things that aren't covered
yeah.
when you have a
And so she,
disability, and my parents did the same thing.
yeah,
They forked out a lot of cash. They
my
forked
mom
out a
did
lot
too,
of cash.
and a
Yeah,
lot of it was not covered. And
yeah,
so my mom and my dad actually had helped my mom with that part. So
yeah,
I applaud him on that.
yeah.
And my dad said least he could do is to help her out with that. And so he did. And he still wanted the best for me, regardless of what him and my mom went through in life, right? Um, so the operation was successful. It left me with, uh, what they did was they pulled my pupils to, and they pulled it center,
Hmm.
the center, and it left it where they weren't be bouncing. They pulled it center.
Yeah,
So it would still leave it with a rotation back and forth, like astigmatism.
yeah.
And so when I get really tired or I strain my eyes trying to read small print, um, it really it gets my eyes tired. So that's why when I try to speak things into, like, I can type really well, like really fast.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I was learned how to touch type because I could actually type faster than I could write because of hand and eye coordination. It really
Hmm.
throws off. I was a little bit slower in writing. I liked writing. I loved writing, but I was a lot slower at it.
I was born cross-eyed as well, actually, and
Yeah,
I had that
yeah,
operation to fix that as well.
yeah. And
Yeah.
my one eye was over to one side, and the other
Yeah.
eye was over to the other side.
Hmm.
And when they would bounce up or down or sideways, they moved them both center, and
Yeah.
so that I could still now see peripheral vision. I could wave
Hmm.
my finger. They would
Yeah.
say, "Well, how many fingers?" Well, I do have a little bit of difficulty with it. I can see it, but I'm fortunate that I can see it. Some people with
Hmm.
my eye condition can't
Yeah.
see that at all, and so there's different severities with my eye
Yeah.
condition. Um, if it was rated out of, I guess, 1 out of 10, everybody's situation with the condition that they have, it varies. But they were extremely happy. My mom was so happy with them that it left it with, my condition is my condition. I don't know anything different of it. If I were to, there's no cure for my eye condition. I
Yeah.
I guess the top doctors they're always studying it. Like it's like, cerebral palsy, it's like cancer, different eye conditions.
And cerebral palsy, I have to say, is one of the least funded diseases out there,
Yeah,
or conditions. I don't know if you want to call it a disease, but it's one of the least funded conditions out there. It's
yeah,
just, and it affects a lot of people, right?
yeah. Well,
But
my
but
my
they're always fighting for funding because like we said when Rob Shaw was on, it's like disability is not sexy, right? So like
exactly.
you just don't get the funding for stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah,
mine's a congenital one, right? And
yeah.
so it's like when people have like a congenital heart, condition. Mine's the same thing, and it's mine won't get worse. It doesn't get better. I mean, as we get older, yes, I might get cataracts, right? I mean,
Hmm.
knock on wood that I don't. I mean, because there'll be another eye operation, right? I remember going into a optometry, and this was in Langley at the time. And you know what I was told, everybody? Oh, this one eye doctor. I actually got up and walked out. I walked out we're sitting in the chair, and this machine right there, and she's doing the eye testing, and she said one thing to me, the eye doctor. I literally got up and moved her machine to the side. I pushed it
Hmm.
to the side. I got up out of the chair and walked out the door. walked out the office, never went back. She
Mm.
said to me, it's mind over matter, Brent. If you can always put your mind to anything, you can accomplish anything. So it's like, and she goes, if you blink twice, you know what? You might not be able to focus, but if you really put your mind to it and fully focus on what you're doing, you
Mhm.
can do it. Small print, you know what? Just enlarge it. And I said,
Yeah.
really? Wow. But I got a better solution for you. So um, I have other colleagues that I can refer you to right now with your eye condition, and they can correct it. They could correct it. I go, really? Yeah, it's called laser eye surgery. I go, yeah. So that won't fix my eye condition, because my eye condition is it's part of the genes. It's yeah, like it's more in depth. It shows,
Yeah.
well, yeah, you're right on that, but it actually will amplify your vision that you can see more. You'll still have stigmatism and a lot of difficulty with other parts of the repercussions of your condition. And I thought, wow, like you are so out of touch. And she goes,
Mhm.
well, but you would have to sign a declaration stating that I'm not liable, that she's not
Yeah.
liable for her colleagues. So what? So if you screw up and it can't reverse my eye condition back to the way the state it is now. No,
Mhm.
unfortunately, I'm not. No, I'm not taking a
Yeah.
chance on that.
Yeah.
So I walked out and going through school. Well, I remember one of my teachers. I said to me, "Well, we want you to go into a different room because we just don't want you to not feel that it's going to cause well, I call it a problem for other students. Like we don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, so we
Mhm.
want you to kind of learn in a different room." Um,
Yeah.
and I said, "Well, that's not right."
Segregation.
Yeah,
Segregation.
yeah, and yeah, it was isolation, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I said, no, I want to feel belonged with all my classmates. And a lot of my classes, I was actually in with them. There was a couple that they wanted me out of it because it was about blowing up for accessibility. One of the classes I understand, I totally get it because I had a big monitor and I could actually put the information underneath it and actually see it. It was like a big CCTV,
Mhm.
and it was good and bad in a way. It was for me, I don't know, I guess it was frustrating because I would lose track of where I am on a page. It was kind
Yeah.
of like scrolling across, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is taking me so long to read this.
Yeah.
Where if I would listen to audio, I could actually and digest that information.
Yeah.
And so one of the teachers who it was through the CNIB too, they actually had brought me into their own room, and that was great. Like, I mean, that was fine, but I explained like my frustration. I said, it's like I'm losing track to where I am on the
Mhm.
CCTV. So the instructor who had made arrangements with the teacher's aide from the CNIB used to come in and actually be the TA for me, which I was so grateful for that. But I said at the same time, I want to be part of the class. Like, whose idea was it? Well, it was the teacher's idea. But if you're okay with being in here, how can we
Mhm.
make it better for you, though, Brent? I go, I
Yeah.
want to be back in the class. Can that can make it better? She goes,
Yeah.
okay. So they put me back in the class, but I put a recommendation out, and I guess nobody had ever done that. I said, how about can we make it big for all my classmates up on a projector screen? Can we
Mhm.
make it larger? And some of the kids were like, well, teacher, whoa, okay, well, let's
What a
ask
novel
us.
concept.
Yeah, so the teacher says, would everybody like larger print? Because Brent needs to have it larger for him to see so he's not squinting. Because I had to sit kind of, well, I used to sit right in the front of the class. I said, I want to sit further in the back of the class or somewhere in the
Mhm.
middle. Well, there was kids in the back of the class, they had trouble reading it themselves. So they
Mhm.
said, yeah, okay, so I actually got that passed. And
Mhm.
so I was so proud that I was actually able to make it more accessible for the whole classroom rather
Yeah.
than just me, because I wanted me to be included with them.
Yeah.
And so I made that change happen, and a lot of the classes started echoing, and they started doing the same thing for other classes for students. So
Mhm.
because I ran under the student council. Um, yeah, I just got in under it. Somebody tried ripping down signs, right? Yeah, I said, yeah, I had the slogan that said, vote for Frain, don't miss your train. I did a slogan like that, and some
There
people
you
were coming
go.
by ripping down my signs, and it's kind of like, yeah. But I got in, but the idea was I wanted to make that change happen for the
Mhm.
students, right? And so I did get that done. I mean, going through education, I had a lot of obstacles. Kids making fun of me, picking on, hey, here's Four Eyes Freak, hey,
Yeah.
here he comes. Look at his bottle-sized glasses. Oh, hey, do you like Coca-Cola or is it root beer you like, Brent? Better, Brent.
Mm.
I really don't drink a lot of pop because it's not good for you. Yeah, so that was my comeback, right?
Mm.
I said, oh, root beer, actually, if you ask me. Oh, yeah, because your glasses are so thick. I go, yeah, well, my glasses are thicker than what's behind your head. I guess it's probably sawdust, right? I said, because you're not understanding. I said, what I'm going through. I said, my glasses, at least I got four eyes and you only got two, so I can see more than you can. I would
Well,
learn to kind of twist it around and
yeah, and that brings us back all the way back to the beginning of the show, Brent, is of being okay,
yeah.
of this idea of being okay that actually disability does mean broken.
Hmm.
It actually does mean that part of your body is broken. But like I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
I'm
me too.
okay that I have bent legs. I was born with bent legs because you know that is like it made me like my disability made me who I am. And like the comment from Canada the great earlier
Hmm.
is that disability teaches you how to it challenges you it teaches you how to find ways to get around problems, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you learn to adapt and all of that.
Yeah,
And
I had
so,
a lot of problem solving,
yeah,
going through different obstacles, and
yeah.
going through, like, for math. Math was not like I guess they call it. There's fractions and there's decibels and then division. Algebra was really not one of my things. I had a great difficulty with algebra. I don't know. I could not seem to grasp algebra like 100%. And so I would, either be told, well, you're going to have to do some changes on it if you're not understanding it 100% because you're going to fail it, Brent. And you need
Mhm.
to have algebra, or you need to have math, of any degree of math, to be successful to get through the education system. That is part of the criteria, or accounting, or other, maybe a different division of math. So I went into accounting. I said, okay, well, talked to the counselor, counseling department. They said, okay, you're good with numbers. Why don't you take accounting?
Mhm.
Okay. They put me into a little bit of the higher end accounting. Like, I was still in younger grade in high school. They put
Mhm.
me into, there was the only thing that was available was grade 11 accounting, or grade 12 accounting.
Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, and of course I was short for my age. When I was born, I was actually shorter than the average student, like, or child. Um, Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. So it was actually funny because I was actually in an accounting class, and I was actually only in grade 9 at the time, but I was actually in,
Mhm.
one of my classes was accounting 11, and the other one was accounting 12. And I was
Mhm.
only in grade 9. So I was already short, and these students were all tall. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I was almost felt like the midget. And actually, it worked out well, even in choir too. I was in that, so in band. Oh yeah, it was great. I'd stand
Yeah.
there, everyone was singing. Is Brent singing?
You can just hide behind
Yeah, I
people,
hide
right?
behind there. I don't out. But yeah, anyways, I mean, so long story short, that's kind of funny part. I had to throw a funny thing in there, but I felt very included in some of the groups, the settings, that way, that
Mhm.
some of the students, they accepted me for me. At
Mhm.
first, they didn't, but I stood up for myself. One of my teachers had taught me, said, stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for yourself.
Mhm.
Counselor even said the same thing. If there's a problem, let me know. I'll come down and I'll kick some ass, he said. I still remember that. And I was just telling you, I was just a kid in school. I'll come down and kick some ass, he says.
Yeah.
And my mom even taught me that too.
Yeah.
Stand up for yourself.
And you
Don't,
really have to when you have a
yeah.
disability. Like It's basically the school of hard knocks, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you'd have to develop a really thick skin. You have to develop this real, I don't know, just that street mentality of like, that survival mentality of like, I can do this, and yeah, you really have to learn how to fend for yourself.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And and growing up with around my mom and hard times. There was a lot of hard times. I mean, I'm not going to kid everybody. There was a lot of
Hmm.
economic hard times growing up. Um, my mom would be watching TV and watching her own shows and stuff, and her soap operas and news hours and talk shows and whatever else.
As the world
Yeah, yeah,
turns.
yeah. She'd have that on too, and or she'd have her radio on in the kitchen, right? And she'd be making dinner, and I'd be helping her wash dishes, this and that, and we'd be just chit chatting. Oh, my show's on now, and so I'd be doing some homework, and my mom would do her best to try to understand the homework that I'm doing, because my mom didn't, she didn't go all the way through school, so she had to kind of self teach herself.
Yeah.
Um, and my mom had to leave school when she was in
So
grade.
she was living vicariously through you then.
Yeah, my mom had to leave school when she was in seven and in grade seven. She was in England, in the UK, outside of there. But um, when the war broke out, like it was not a good thing, right? But she had to go there and do the best she could to help her mom out at the time. And I mean, talk about a parallel. I mean, going forward hard times. I mean, and she remembered what she had gone through when she was just a little, when she was just a youngster and a young adult, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, so she basically kind of carried that forward and basically taught me about, about trying to be as responsible as you could. And she did a lot of baking though. Oh, I loved her baking. Everybody in our neighborhood, and I mean, they loved it. Even the kids in school, my mom would make cupcakes. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
she would make raisin cupcakes.
Oh
And
yeah.
oh yeah, oh, I loved those. And she'd put a little bit of like some walnuts and raisins in there,
Yeah.
and some pecans the odd time. And she'd make them, and because we had a bake sale, she'd make all these, and she made like 12 batches of these things, and I would take a batch with me to school, and I'd hand them out to each of my school pals, and
Hmm.
one for the teacher too. And she says, "Wow, oh, your mom made these." She said, "I love them." Oh, she said, "I need to get that recipe, right?" So my
Hmm.
mom said, "Well, okay, well." And so my mom really did a lot around the around her community and like helped her neighbors out, and they would help
Hmm.
her out too during hard
Yeah.
times. So it was kind of give and take. There was times where I would go over to my neighbor's place or across our road, um, and they were almost like my mom and my dad almost like it was like they just took me in. My
Mhm.
mom, she'd be working a lot of different. She had part-time jobs. She had one full-time job, and then it went down to part-time. But she had like what four different part-time jobs she had going. She also worked for the school, like as a school crossing guard. So
Yeah.
yeah, and my mom was there, so she said, "So I'll know when you're in school." So yeah, that was a kind of a tough one because I was in elementary school. Well, my mom was the crossing guard, so yeah, I just kind of went with her when she went. So yeah, made sure I was at school on time, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it was fun times where you look back at these different events, and I guess it's more of about teaching people that it's okay to be who you are. It's okay to accept like just your disability is of who you are, and don't let other people judge you because that's how my mom taught me. Is oh, and it's almost 11:11. Got one more minute
Yeah.
here.
Just
Yeah,
be okay with the
yeah,
brokenness, you
yeah,
know?
it's okay to have your brokenness and for who you are, accept you for you.
Hmm.
And my mom taught me that. Oh, and it is 11:11, so the
There you
podcast is
go.
going to be done in just a few moments,
So we
everybody.
can punch out now, Brent.
Yeah, but what I guess did my closing comments on it is it's okay to accept um, your peers around you as long as they understand who you are and
Hmm.
accept you for who you are. And my mom taught me that that you're going to find in life that people are not always going to be on the same page as you. And she says, and that's okay. She
Hmm.
said, that's okay, because if they're not on the same page, then they don't understand you. And then you need to move on with life, Brent, and you need to just carry on with how I taught you. Um, because she said, not everybody's always going to agree. And if they can't accept you for who you are,
Yeah.
that's not on you, it's on them,
Yeah.
right? And my mom had a lot of different friends over time in her life. Unfortunately, some moved on. Some moved on, some stayed in her life. There was three of her friends that she had. One was really close. I called her my aunt. And another dear lady, she was so sad when my mom passed. Um, she gave me the biggest bear hug. I tell you, I didn't think she could give a bear hug, and I thought, wow, ouch, like And she says, I'm always going to miss her, but she's always carry on her legacy, Brent. Always
Hmm.
remember that. Don't change you for you.
Yeah.
And I said to her, okay, and so like you can't change you for you. Like you are just who you are. Don't try to pretend that or do be something that you're not. Like don't if it's like when I always refer to government when we're on the podcast here.
Yeah.
The government says, "Oh well, the jobs, the jobs, the job," right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, my mom taught me, and even some of my education instructors in college taught me. They
Yeah.
You are you. You can't change you. You can't also you're healed. You're
Yeah,
magically healed.
exactly. And
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 yeah, you can't.
that's again where I have a problem with the social model because
Yes.
no
Yeah.
amount of social model, no amount of elevators and accessible this and accessible that will change the fact, will change the biological fact and physical truth that my legs actually are broken.
Hmm.
And I have to be okay with that, and government has to be okay with that, and everybody else has to be okay with it, and I'm just telling you I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And like I started off the show saying, that God doesn't make mistakes. I'm a firm believer in that. I don't want to ever think that God's made a mistake.
Hmm.
I don't want to go there, right? And so yeah, you just got to be happy with the body you were given, whether it's broken or not. You just got to be. This is my body. I'm gonna live in it and be happy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
there was like a lot of times where my mom's hands were, like so sorry. She'd be using a wringer washer outside because our washer and dryer broke down, and she had to go and get them fixed. And she didn't. I mean, single mother bringing up two young boys. You can imagine the laundry that we're going through, and then they broke down. My mom's rent was kept low, but in exchange, like something broke down, she had to go and fix it. She
hmm.
was only paying $475, everybody, for a whole house.
Wow.
For a whole house. But if something broke, she had to fix it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then, basically, that's going to parachute to a different podcast. So I'm not going to go there on that about rates. But I guess my point is that she did the best she could. Economically, it was really hard times, but she still provided nutritional meals the best way
Hmm.
she could. There
Yeah.
was times where, yeah, as a kid, I'd be picky. I don't want to eat this and don't want to eat that. Well, my mom says, well, that's what's on the plate. If you don't want it, then that's not on me. I'm sorry. And so there was times where I get some cracker and cheese and put some peanut butter and plate and go to my room.
There
Well,
you go.
yeah, well, there you go. That was my dinner, right? But it didn't happen too much.
Yeah.
My mom knew that, but she did the best she could.
Hmm.
And I always remembered the great times that what I went through. Yeah, I put my mom through hell at times,
Hmm.
but hey, every kid does, right? I mean, they have disagreements, but I always cherish the great memories, and I thank her and my mother for who they were. Got to know both of them. I said in that one podcast, I got to make the arrangements of my mom and my mother meeting together,
Yeah.
and me going having lunch with both of them. That was so special,
Yeah.
and I know that it was awkward, even as I was growing up, because I found out when I was 12 years old that I was adopted. They waited till I was the right age to tell me. And I
Hmm.
said, I knew it. I said, I knew it. I knew you were my mother. She said, yeah, because I would phone up and ask and speak to your mom. And you would say, uh, Brent speaking. Can I help you? Yeah, one moment, please. And
Yeah.
she said, you'd be so polite. And then you did, Mom.
Hmm.
No. Yeah, so that's kind of the story of what I went through. I mean, obviously there's lots to unpack.
Yeah.
Things that I try to remember, things that I didn't want to remember, but but I'm like I said earlier in the podcast, I'm okay with what I remembered
Hmm.
because it is part of what I went through. And I'm not scared. I think for a while when I was younger, I didn't want to talk about it. But I learned okay that like for myself, when I was in college, we had to do a bibliography of who we are, and our class
Hmm.
got to basically rate us. And I was taught that it's okay, Brent, to speak up and say how you feel. It's okay to have tumbles in life and fall down and pick yourself up. It's okay to accept who you are. It's okay to not be sad. It's okay to be happy, but it's not okay to be judged. It's not okay to have people belittle you and then try to say, well, yeah, hey, I screwed up, but it's and that's one thing I always remember back in what I had instructors. One of my professors told me that, and I always stuck in my head. So I recently, I mean, in life, I mean, I've had gone through some different obstacles in life, but you know what? I just move forward. I just say, hey, life is life.
Yeah.
I mean, life's a journey, right? It's like people want to be along the pathway. They're with me. If they don't, then
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's why I hope that people they keep tuning in. Like I guess my point is, I'm glad that people are tuning into the podcast um,
Yeah.
because your lived experience stories it really helps to echo things moving forward. I know that there's a lot of people are discouraged right now, like federally, provincially, um, like the mishaps with what's going on in the federal government, provincial governments not communicating back and forth about our rates. It affects your well-being and your mental and physical health. I mean,
Yeah.
I just want things to be a lot back, basically back to standard level of where they should
Yeah.
be at. So yeah, I mean, I really hope everybody really enjoyed my story
Yeah,
regarding
and again, this is kind of a reboot because
yeah,
we did try. I mean, you had that
yeah,
portion in that
yeah.
one podcast
And
episode,
then I went down
but
the
it
rabbit
was a bit of a
hole.
hodgepodge. So it was
This way,
so
I
yeah,
kind of gave a more of a
yeah,
broader story about who I am, and then like I say, as I went through college, I already knew I had other disabilities. They just were never diagnosed, shall we say?
yeah, yeah.
And one of my instructors laughed and said, "Well, here you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah." She was hilarious. She goes, "Hey, Brent, add another one to the Barbie," she says.
There you
I go,
go.
what? Yeah, she said, just pile it on. She says, keep piling them on. But you
Yeah,
know what? That's just who you are. So,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Let's
thank you.
punch out, Brent.
Yeah. Have a great day, everyone,
Yeah.
and enjoy your day. Take care.
Cheers.